Hello everybody and welcome to this video. Today we are going to be restoring this tiny little well, it's not tiny little, but it's one of the smallest vices I've ever seen. But as you can see, let me pull that through there so I don't hit it on my camera. As you can see, there's all rusty and there's cobwebs all over it, and it could just do with a restoration. So what I will be doing in this video is, obviously, I'll be attempting to restore this as best as I can. My nose itched. I will just point out, this is not a tutorial video. If you want a video on how to restore a vise or something like this properly, go somewhere else, don't watch my video. And I say that for one reason. Do you see how it's rusty? Therefore, it's the best idea to not let the surface get touched by water. Basically, don't let the rusty objects and water interact, otherwise there is a potential for that rusted object to become even more rusty. But I will be using my fairly logical principle, which is use water and like waterproof sandpaper or a Scotch pad or some wire wool or something like that with water in order to remove the majority of the rust. Then I will completely dry the metal before it has time to go rusty. Therefore, while I am getting the surface wet with water, I am drying it before the water has time to affect the metal. Let's get on with the restoration of this. First thing I'm going to attempt to do is, see the screws in the bottom that hold this bit to the base? I'm going to attempt to remove that. And then at first I'll work on the base plate, and then once I'm happy with that, then I'll just work my way around the vise. So, yes, let's do that. I shall begin to take these screws out and try and remove the vise from its base. It's like a teardown video, isn't it? Right, so let's tear this object down. I don't even know, these screws are probably rusted. I don't want to damage the head on them. In fact, if I've got any more of these screws, I might replace them. I don't think I do have any screws like that. Last one. Please come out. Okay, this one is seized. Why is it always the last one that causes the problems? Maybe if I go and do the old-fashioned technique of hitting it, it might like loosen up some of the rust. But I'll do that off camera, and I'll also do that outside. What do we think about that? Look, it loosened it. So now hopefully I can take it out with ease. Maybe I should have just done that to begin with. Anyway, we now have the vise away from the base. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and work off. I'm going to go off and work on polishing up the base and restoring it. Which, once again, this isn't a tutorial, okay? Good. We're now over at the sink, and once again I'll be using my method of a wire wool, a scourer and a brush to polish it up. And before you ask, yes, I will dry it before the water has time to further oxidise the surface. Now you may be wondering, how do I go about drying something that's metal? Well, first off, I rub it down with a dry cloth, obviously a cloth that's not used for washing your face with, so that way you don't end up potentially getting rust in your face, which is probably not a pleasant experience. But yeah, you want to use like an old rag or t-shirt or something to dry it so it's dry to the touch, and then once it is dry to the touch, I simply place it on this block of wood, which is to avoid burning the carpet, and use a hairdryer on its hottest setting, which dries up all of the micro channels of water that could be still on the piece of metal. And also to increase its surface area, what I sometimes do is hold it vertically and then heat up both sides of it and obviously it's metal, so it'll conduct the heat throughout itself until it gets too hot to hold. Right, I think that's sufficiently dry. So, oh, you zoomed in, aren't you? Right, okay, so let's take you back to the box. So now there's the base of the vise polished up to a standard that I am happy to. I'm going to attempt to clean this bit. As you can see, this should unscrew, but it doesn't unscrew because it's all dirty and rusty and stuff. So what I'm going to try and do is clean up the screw and then unscrew it, and then I'll like clean each block independently. And now I'm going to try and get this screw out. Well, basically unscrew the vise. As you can see at the moment, it doesn't really want to screw. It's all seized and stuff. So now I need to try and clean up the thread, which I'll do off camera just for the sake of the time length of this video. I've managed to loosen it off, so, well, not completely loosen it off, but I've loosened it off enough for me to be able to unscrew it and then, well, separate the block with the thread on it from the just block of metal. So yeah, I'm going to unscrew them and then proceed with cleaning them up and restoring them. There we go. Right, so I've got the two bits apart. Now what I'm going to do is clean up this block first and then get on to that block. Now I'm going to leave that block for now, and I'm going to start with this block. Is it possible for me to take the handle off? Oh, is that put through all the way? Because if it isn't, I might be able to knock it out. Just clean up this edge bit a little bit. I can see a pin that's been pushed through here. So if I can get that pin out, then I might be able to take this threaded bit out. Is this bit like solidly in there, or is that like screwed in? What I'm going to do is, there's a pin. Don't know how well you can see it, but there's a pin put through there, and if I can knock that pin out, then I might be able to take that disc off and then take this threaded bit out in order to give it a thorough cleaning. So I'm going to go and try and knock this pin out. So I'm back, and as you can see, I've managed to get that pin out. But yes, what I'm going to do is just go ahead and start cleaning. There's that bit done to a satisfactory standard. Therefore, I'm now going to go and dry it using my method that I showed you earlier. I'm back with the final part. No, I don't think one of those ends does come off, which is a bit disappointing, but never mind. I did also notice the thread does have a lot of damage on it, and there's nothing I can do about that. Just going to have to live with it, or buy a new vise. And before you ask, yes, I am aware of the risks of iron oxide poisoning whenever I'm dealing with rust. Like that. And now what I'm going to do is dry them accordingly, and then I'll be back with the base of the thing. Because like I said, I'm going to go over the base again with the sandpaper. The final bit, back with the base, going to give it another going over with the fresh sandpaper. Well, it's probably no longer fresh, but it once was. And then that will be it, so we can finally clean up the sink. I know it doesn't look much different, but yeah, that's it for the base. So now what I'm going to do is just put that down there for now. And now I'm going to clean up the sink. Okay, it is now day 2 of recording this video, and the reason why I left everything until day 2 is so that any water that may have been in like all of these little holes has like fully evaporated. And I also noticed something interesting. You will see that there is tape over that screw hole, and that is because if I take all of the screws out of the box, and as you can see, the screw on the far right is taller than the other remaining 3. Now that's either because the other remaining 3 screws were that rusty, the screws broke off in the hole, or maybe this long screw could be a replacement, or something like that. But I put a bit of tape over that hole because that hole is the one where the long screw goes. So yeah, I don't know why that one's longer. Like I said, these 3 could have been that rusty, they might have snapped off in the hole, or this one could be a replacement one, or something like that. I have no idea. And then we can get to work on reassembling this vise. So let's begin by putting it back together. Now there is this pin that goes through there that I showed you a bit earlier on in the video, but what I've been thinking is this pin was very hard to get out, so what I'm thinking of doing is just putting like a regular screw or something of appropriate length in there and then just holding it in with a bit of tape. And now what I'll show you is the threaded rod. There, as you can see, the thread is, well, chewed up, torn, and well, it's just, yeah, I don't know how to describe it. It's not a healthy looking thread, if you can have a healthy thread. It's not a perfect thread, okay? But it does still fit in that hole, and it does still screw in and stuff like that. Let's just get these bits out of the box. I put them in the plastic container so that I could keep all the bits together. So I guess we'll begin with these bits. Now this is simple. This pole goes in that hole like that, and then like it goes through, and now I need to put this bit, the threaded bit, through that bit which isn't threaded, and then I need to screw the threaded bit into that hole. Hang on, someone will have already pointed that out in the comments. No, can't quite pull it out yet. Right, there we go. I need to put this bit on there. I won't put the pin in yet, and now I need to screw this thread into there. Now, as a result of the thread being as chewed up as it is, while it does still like thread and close the vise, and it's actually a very stable hold on it, but at times the thread does get a bit hard to turn. But like I said, like right now, it's like sort of gripping and it's getting hard to turn, but it still turns, and you can easily still clamp things in this vise. So what I'm going to do is just thread the vise up until it's closed. Like I said, I might put this pin back in, but at the moment I'm not intending on putting this pin back in. I'm just intending on putting a screw through the hole. Slight change of plans. I'm going to put the screw through the hole now, while it's not together, and now I'm just going to get some tape to hold the screw in the hole. I mean, I know tape isn't really the best thing to use. I would use something like hot glue, but I don't have a hot glue gun, so I can't. So literally just take a bit of tape. That bit will do fine. And just put this bit of tape over the bolt like that, just press it down. And yeah, there's basically what I'm using for a pin back in. No rhyme intended. So the bottom bit sticks out further than the threaded bit, so you can correctly align the threads, and then once the threads are aligned you can just thread them in until the thread starts coming out the other side, and it will start pushing up on the box. As you can see, at the moment the thread, well, it was threading perfectly, but now notice how it's stiffer. That's due to it eating up the threads. So now what I could do at this stage is I could continue screwing it in until the vise is essentially clamped, but for the ease of sake and also holding it in your hand with these sharp edges is quite painful, so I'm going to screw it back down onto its base. Is it that way? Yes, it is. I'm going to screw it down like that and then just hold the base in and then tighten it up. So let's begin that procedure. So I need a small screw for that one and a small screw for that one. Put the screw in there, and now I'll put the long screw in that hole. Now I know I said I was going to look at like fixing the threads on these screws, but if I'm honest, I don't really think I need to do that. So yeah, this is the vise fully back working, and to make things easier, it's going to do it like this. Due to the like damaged thread, it does like spin really easily and then it goes all stiff and like stuck. But as you can see, here is the vise completed, and as expected, it's a vise that you can use to put things in when you're working with them. I don't have a workbench to screw it down on, which is why I'm not attaching it to a desk. But yeah, there is a small vise. So anyway, there is the restoration of this like mini vise that I have like sort of restored. I've got it back working and it's not all rusty, but as you saw, the thread is all chewed up, and as a result, when you're screwing it in and out, sometimes it can get a bit stiff and stuck and whatever. But anyway, that is the restoration of this vise completed. So thank you for watching, and I shall see you in the next video.